Our story starts in 1905 when Viktor Frankl is born in Austria. Ever since he was a little boy, all he wanted to do was help people, so he becomes a psychiatrist to help people out, but something happens called the World War, the second one. And we know what happens there. A lot of people end up dying, he gets sent to a concentration camp, and then his masterpiece is born, just in a matter of 9 days, Man's Search for Meaning. This book ends up becoming probably the most impactful piece of work, at least within psychology. And I'm not exaggerating, this work is quoted in every fucking paper you'll read ever, and for a very good reason, because it pretty much overthrew everything that we kind of knew about people in the first place, by saying that not only do people not care about power or pleasure that much, but the thing that they care about the most, more than even power or pleasure, is purpose. And anyone who has purpose, excuse the glare on the fucking, the sun's going down, I can't do much about that. People who have purpose will outstrive, will outlive those who don't, and he saw that firsthand in the concentration camps. And then his quote was born, which is very, very famous: "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." In this video, we're going to talk about how to find your why. That's going to be the first thing. Actually, no, the first thing is going to be why is important in the first place. Then we're going to go on to how to find your why, and actually yours. I don't like using the word hate, but I can very, very comfortably use it here. I hate it when people tell me what to do. I hate it when people, especially YouTubers and people who have never even fucking met me, start telling me what to do, specific advice. You need to do this because this is the ultimate thing to do. Like, shut the fuck up, man. I'm going to help you lead it on through my lessons. I'm going to talk about myself, and hopefully you can extrapolate some of my learnings onto yourself and actually apply the things. If it doesn't work for you, so be it, but I'm not going to tell you fucking concrete things. I'm going to go about methods, like parametric things that you can actually apply, like template-like things you can actually apply to your life, and then hopefully come to a conclusion of what your why is based on these things. And finally, we're going to conclude with what you need to do once you've figured out your why. People think all you need is just fucking discipline. People think all you need is a fixed routine and a schedule and just do the thing and day in, day out, but that's soulless. The reason you're burnt out is because of misalignment, not overworking. The reason you feel overwhelmed all the time is because your soul is telling you from within that you're on the wrong path. How about you listen to it instead of ignoring it? People will live their whole fucking life feeling the sense of demotivation and convince themselves that all they need is discipline, when that's fucking bullshit. Discipline is a useful tool, but we don't want to rely on it. The reason you feel like you have to rely on it is because your soul's constantly telling you, no, don't do this thing, we're not feeling good. This is not what we're fucking sent onto earth for. This is not our desire. And that's why you're not feeling good about yourself. You know, the natural state of a human being who has good mental health and who's on their purpose is motivation. Motivation is the default. You only need discipline once you sway away from it. So this is how you actually get motivated constantly, when you actually feel like you're on your reason and you're on your purpose. The reason it gives you energy is because energy isn't exactly what we think of it. You know, you think of energies as calorie, but why is it that you feel fucking crashed out after you have like a bowl of food? It's not exactly like that. We think of like energy as in sleeping, but after you feel like fucking wake up, you still feel groggy. You still feel lethargic. So why is this? Energy isn't that simple, especially within humans. We can't really conceptualize of energy as in just, okay, this is like linearly correlated to this one resource, which is food or it's sleep, or yeah, sure, these things help. These things are necessary for us to feel energetic. But how about someone who's on their purpose, who knows what they're fucking doing with their life? They will have infinite energy. You know, when you watch these people in like the final of some sports game, do you think they get tired? Do you think, like literally if we had like a fucking scan of their bodies, yes, they get depleted. Yes, their energy stores are running low. They're sprinting their fucking asses off because they know that this is their purpose. They know that they're living for this thing. And it's very similar to pretty much everyone who's in like a flight or fight mode, or anyone who's in the zone, in flow, because you're actually in the task. However, once you come home from your 9 to 5, once you eat a big meal, how much energy do you have left? Now, obviously, if your life depended on it, you had energy, or if you really had a flow state task, you had energy. But the thing is, these things deplete us to the extent where we're like, okay, right now, after the things I've done, I don't feel like doing anything. Now, sure, if you were put in a situation where you had to do something, you would. But the thing is, you don't have the reason, which is neutral. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's good, but this is how to get a reason. This is how you could work fucking day and night if you felt like it, because you actually felt like you were doing something useful. So the first thing is that this gives you energy, and it's not just fucking conceptualization of, okay, you'll eat more, you'll sleep better. No, you will feel aligned to the thing. You know, when you're doing something that's bad for you, you feel this force that it's constantly pushing you away from it. You know, this is you, and this is the thing you want. This is maybe money. maybe status, maybe love, whatever it may be, and you feel pushed away from it because it's not aligned to who you really are in your soul. And this is when we use discipline, the big D, pause. This is when we use the big D, pause again. Because we feel demotivated, because we feel like we need it. Fucking hell, that sounds really sus. We need to use discipline because we don't have motivation. But however, if you align this thing to actually be like in touch with who you fucking really are and what you want to do in the world, and you approach these things, which you can still get, by the way, all of these things, you can still get love, you can still get money, you can still get status if you do it in the correct way, then you will start to feel push the other direction, and you will have to use motivation, because this thing, I mean, it's the same thing. You can still get these things, just in a different way, because now you've switched it. You might think that running a fucking OnlyFans agency is the way to get money. You might think that I don't know, hiring a bunch of hookers from some fucking cheap ass website is the way to get love. You might think those things, but the thing is, you can still do these in a way that is authentic to yourself. You can still do these and achieve this in a real way, and not a fake way. And that is when you will feel this motivation. You will feel a pull towards the things, because right now you probably feel a push away from them because you're working for someone else. And I'm not saying there's anything like bad with that. I know a lot of people who are in 9-to-5s who are like pulled towards what they want to do because they're actually working for a good cause, which is aligned with their purpose, their reason. But for most people, this isn't the case. And for most people, they're only doing it for the money. And that's very destructive, because then you will feel a push away from the certain thing, and it won't really lead to anything, because this is when you're going to have to abuse the discipline. What I mean by this is, you've probably had a situation in life where you had to get just a shit ton done. You had to get this done, then you had to go to this place, then you had to talk to this person, and you had a day which felt like it was never ending. You really, really had to do like a lot that day. And then you had days where pretty much nothing had to be done, yet it took all day for you. And if you know, like if you've watched my channel, if you've just been in the productivity space for a bit, you know the Parkinson's law. You know what Parkinson's law is. For anyone who doesn't, it's basically the amount of work pretty much fills up to the amount of time that you have at hand. Or in other words, whenever you're closer to a deadline, you feel more productive, and you get more productive, and that's how procrastination can actually help you in some sort of ways. That's a topic for another day, though. The point is, if you leave yourself a lot of time, it doesn't really matter how much work you have. Your time will fill up to that amount of your work will fill up to that amount of time. So, this having purpose, it's very similar. If you understand what I'm saying here, if you're at 6 p.m. and you're almost like you want to finish off the day, etc., you just go home from work, whatever, and you still have an assignment for college, for example. It doesn't really matter how much energy you have. You're still going to do it. Now, imagine if you didn't have that assignment. You might get home and you might go to bed right away. You might fall on your bed and you're fucking asleep. You might lie on the couch and you're fucking asleep. The thing is, in one instance you had a reason, and the thought of going to like bed didn't even cross your mind. You might have had the fleeting thought that, oh, I'm kind of tired. Oh yeah, but we got to get this thing done. Okay, let's just go and do it now. That's kind of how it works, because realistically, in both situations, you still had the same amount of energy, but in one you had a very, very different thought. In this case, let's say if a man has a child and they become a father, and they get home and they're working like a dead-end job, and they really, really want to provide financial stability for their child, they might think, they get home and they might have a first thought before they became a father as, okay, time to unwind. There's nothing wrong with this thought, by the way. I'm not saying it's a bad example, I'm not saying it's a good example. They might just have the natural thought to time to unwind, time to open up a bottle of wine, time to cook something, time to watch a Netflix show that I'm not caught up on. After they have a child, it might be time to work on my side hustle. They might be in a completely different frequency. They might be like, oh shit, now I finally get a chance to work on my side hustle and provide financial stability for my family because they deserve it. Now, neither of these are good, neither of these are bad. They're both conducive to your goal, to your reason. In this person doesn't really have a reason. They're just thinking of, how can I maximize pleasure for today? Which I'm not judging. Might be a good thing for you, might be that season of life that you're in, whatever. In this situation, they're like, I need to provide for my family. Which again, could be good, could be bad. They just work this way. And if your goal is to provide for your family, getting this thought is positive. So this is a good reason why having a reason works in the first place. And the third reason is that it forces you to act. If you don't really have a choice, you're going to do the thing no matter what. If you have a very, very strong reason, you're going to do it no matter what. Not only does your mind change, but you literally work as a different fucking person. It's very akin to this point, but it's slightly different. I have a video on why ruts don't exist, because cards should be popping up right on screen right now. You can open it maybe and watch it after this video. But I basically explain how if you go into a rut, like an actual rut and not just like a semi-rut, you will get out of it no matter what. Because if your reality crosses a certain threshold where your life becomes like that bad, like really bad, you will not take it anymore. Where your minimum standards is like dropped to, or your life situation drops below your minimum standards rather, you will slingshot out of it. And this kind of is the same. If you really have like a very, very, very strong reason, you're in a dire situation, or it doesn't matter that your situation is dire, your standards are just so fucking high that you're just not happy where you are, you will act. Think of the entrepreneur who needs to pay rent because they moved into their house too early. Think of the mother who has to provide for their children. Think of the student who has very strict parents and they have very, very, very big desires for themselves as well to get into a big school, yet they are behind on their finals or something. They had a bad test. These people are in situations where nothing else fucking matters for them. And not only will their thinking change, but they will be forced to act because they have no other choice. Now, again, living your life like this probably isn't the best thing to do, but having periods of this where you're just in a situation where your back is against the wall is very productive. I had this situation probably twice in my life before. The first one was when I was leaving university. I left university. I've never had a job. I knew that my parents weren't going to financially provide for me, yet I had this huge dream of getting into business and on making an online income. And then I started my agency, and then it failed. And then I started an online theme page, and that failed. Then I did video editing in a freelancing way. I freelanced for other YouTubers, and I edited short form content for them, and that also failed. And then I did an education company where I had some of my friends from my last high school kind of do it was like a fucking consulting agency almost. It's complicated, but that failed as well. And it was my fifth business, which actually started making me some money. And the reason I was able to, well, first of all, I should have probably stuck to the first one because I probably would have made it work. The thing is, I made it work just overall. I made this online business thing work because my bank account was going down. Like my money was like that. And I didn't have a way out of it unless I made it work. So I did. And if you have yourself a safety blanket, and this is why I hate plan Bs, it might just be me, so you don't have to listen to this advice, but I just hate it, because if you have a safety blanket, your mind will think a different way. And that goes back to the second point. Your subconscious mind is 99% of your mind. Your conscious mind, your conscious thoughts only make up like 1% or less than 1% of what your mind really is. So it doesn't really control you. And if you have just in your mind, if you have in your memory that, oh shit, if something happens, I have a plan B, your default mode network will not work the same. You will not get the same thoughts throughout the day. You will be like, oh, we could do that, but that's a bit extreme. We shouldn't really do that because even if it doesn't work, we can go to plan B. Oh, we shouldn't put too much effort into this plan A because then the plan B wouldn't work. So that's not too sensical. And you will get these kind of thoughts, which might aid your plan, I don't know, but I'm just saying, if you actually have like a huge reason and you really, really need to get something done, then maybe you should go with this approach, and maybe it's a good thing that it forces you to act. First of all, you need to ask yourself these 3 questions. When in my life was I in flow? Flow is pretty much a state where you have no thoughts in your mind, where you're constantly like tunnel visioned on the task, no thoughts, just doing the thing, doing it at the best of your ability, 100% focus. That's what flow is essentially. And there's a very good book written about it by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I think it's in the living room. I don't have it with me right now. Whatever. It's basically you have a challenge axis and you have a skills axis. And if you imagine the challenge level of the thing you're doing and the skills that you have in the certain thing, if these two things are very, very similar to each other, then you're in flow. So if the challenge is much higher than the skill, so if you imagine like the challenge is like 8 out of 10 and your skills are only like a 4 out of 10, that will leave you in this area. And this area is anxiety. And the problem with this is that you don't really get too far when you're anxious. You're scared, you don't want to do the thing, and for understandable reasons, because you're not very matched to your skill level. However, if your skills are much higher than the challenge level, you probably experienced this before. You get bored. You get hella bored, because things like, why are we even doing this? What's the point of doing this? So this is boredom. And this, the middle part, is called flow. This part here. And that, the reason is just Quite simply because your skills actually match the challenge level, or they're very, very near each other. And this is where you want to be, first of all. This is one area of flow. But the other thing is, people just have different flow tasks. For example, for me, I'm like more of a creative type person. I don't know if that sounds narcissistic, but that's just how I like perceive myself. So whenever I had my class, high school class was going to like end, whenever we were in my final year, I made the video. We had like videos that we showed at like the fucking closing ceremony. I don't even know what the word for it is in English, but I made it because I really, really like a creative process which I actually put stuff towards. And especially I had like a skill in video editing, and I really, really wanted to do it because it was like sentimental value as well. Like, you know, looking at all these pictures of the people that I was with and making it like cool and comprehensive, and obviously like getting some validation and shit for it. So it was really nice, and I really liked that. Now, that's not to be confused with just video editing in general, because there was like a lot of sentimental value tied to it. But that, for example, could be a flow state task for me. Whenever I'm very, very tied up in like a meaningful project that's creative, that could be like a very flow statey task for me. And I also like playing football. However, I know that if I went into like to become a footballer, first of all, I'm not good enough. At least, yeah, sure, I could like practice all day and night, but I'm not willing to do that. But then, yeah, I'm not willing to do that. That's the thing. That if you actually have a flow state task, you shouldn't always make it like a job, because that removes the freedom that you have associated with it. You know, if you're like a Premier League player, you don't get to play football when you want. People tell you exactly when you play football, even when it's training and shit, and then you lose the freedom aspect to it. So you really have to consider this. We're going to get onto this later though. I'm done yapping. The next thing is, what problems do I not want anyone else to go through? There's a very good example of this. There's a guy on YouTube who has like a channel about, I don't know his name, maybe you can link it in the comments below if you know him. He has a video, he has a whole channel, and every single video is about this, that he grew up with no father. And this is him now. He has a beard and hair. He looks like a caveman. No, he doesn't. But the thing is, he makes videos what he wanted to learn when he was just a little kid. And it's like how to tie a tie, how to tie your shoelaces, how to fucking just do these kind of things, which usually a man is told to teach his son and daughter. But the thing is, he never had a father, and he's like, I don't want anyone else to go through this problem, through these pains, and I'm going to teach people who are just like me, who grew up with no father, and I'm going to teach them how to do this shit. And that's beautiful, because that is a very, very deep internal driver of him that now he can put out into the world and make the world a better place. And that's beautiful. So that could be your reason also, some sort of previous pain that you experienced but that you don't want anyone else to go through. You know, every fucking Superman movie is about this, that, you know, Batman's parents die and then he doesn't want any like crime to happen and he wants to save people and shit like that. I never watched Batman, by the way. It's a mid movie from what I perceive of it. You can go to war with me on that. What am I willing to suffer for? That's the final one. Usually when I start a business or when I start anything quite big in my life, I tell myself the question, do I want to deal with the problems that this comes with? And that's why I quit pretty much every business so far. No, that's untrue, because the first few I quit because I was a fucking ADHD clown and I was switching super often. But the thing is, now in my previous business, my agency, I quit it because I was like, yeah, the problems with this thing, everything has problems, right? We can agree that problems in life are eternal. You just can't get rid of problems. But when I sit down in front of my computer, I don't want to be crunching numbers. I don't want to be dealing with my clients who I don't even feel like passionate about it. They're not like my people. And I just don't want to sit behind a fucking computer all day. And I want to actually like feel like I'm having an impact on the world. And just doing like salesy marketing copy and running Facebook ads and shit like that wasn't for me, I don't think. So that's why I quit. And that was a problem that I was not willing to suffer for. However, with this YouTube thing that I'm doing right now, I'm like, well, videos might do shit. And I might get a hate comment. And I might get fucked by the algorithm. I might get a copyright strike for something. Like, I can deal with it. I've dealt with hate in my life. I'm fine. You can leave whatever comment you want. A copyright strike, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but you can get it. Like, there's processes you can go through to get it removed. YouTube videos don't do that well. That's fine. It's like a challenge. I take it as a challenge. How can I make them better the next time? Like, I'm fine with these problems. For you, it might be the opposite way. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. But what you should ask yourself is, everyone likes the glory. Whenever you win the trophy, whenever you do well, whenever you go viral, everyone likes that bit. Like, everyone likes that moment. There's not one person who doesn't like being fucking at the high status, a lot of money, etc. position. However, are you willing to suffer for the problems that this thing is going to put you through? What are you willing to suffer for? That's such an amazing question, in my opinion, because if you're willing to suffer through certain problems, maybe if you can base your life around those and your business and maybe your hobbies and shit like that, you will have such a better life, because people will see like, oh my God, how are you doing that? That's so problematic and that sounds so bad and it looks so bad and everything. You're just fine with it because you're willing to deal with that. You're not necessarily happy, although you could be. But you're just like, yeah, this is second nature because I know this is the thing that I'm willing to swallow. I'm willing to take this shit, pause on that, to actually go through on what I love and do what I love. And that's beautiful. So I'll answer these questions and actually write them out. The best is probably if you write them out in the comments and leave them below so I can maybe give a bit of feedback, or you just have a place to write it down, right? The questions are, when in my life was I in flow? What problems do I not want anyone else to go through? And what am I willing to suffer for? So I apologize for the lighting. The sun's fucking going down already and the board's looking like shit because I haven't cleaned my fucking sponge in time, but we're moving on, swiftly moving on, wrapping this up. There's going to be quite a lot of things I'm going to go through, so not really wrapping this up, but whatever. I was reading a book called Someday is Today, about 2 years ago maybe. Matthew Dix is the author, and it's a nice book. I really enjoyed it. And the thing is, this book has a thing in it called Season of Yes. Say yes. And this goes against pretty much every piece of advice you'll learn online, because the biggest advice is, that's not even a word, is it? The biggest pieces of advice that you learn online is pretty much say no more often. Say no, because you can't really. Where the fuck is it, man? Yes, there we go. Say yes. The reason this is so important, I hope it focuses. There we go. Because the biggest pieces of advice you'll learn online is to say no more frequently, because that's the way you focus in on one project. That's the way your default mode network gets polluted by all of the things you actually want to think about, which is the very few things that you do have in life. And then you don't lose your energy, lose your focus, lose your time to meaningless things. And that's a very good point for people who have already established everything, have knowledge on a lot of things, because specialization is for insects. Because specialization is an outdated model. Nowadays, if you think of someone who's like having a good life, they're usually multifaceted. And even if you think of them for one thing, like just think of The Diary of a CEO, like Stephen Bartlett or Joe Rogan, all of these podcasters, they have a backstory, right? They were entrepreneurs, or they were big in like fighting, and then they learned the skill of marketing, and then they learned the skill of podcasting, and then they were an expert communicator, and then they talked to all of these different people, and they have a fuck ton of skills. That's what you don't realize. Even though you think of them as in, okay, they have this one skill, they know how to market it, they know how to talk about it, they know how to sell it, they know how to do business around it, they know how to run it sustainably, and they have incredible amount of skills, and that's because they learned it. That's because they weren't focused on one fucking thing their whole life. I still preach this of if you know what you know what you need to do, go into like a monk mode, sure, like focus on the one thing. But the thing is, you won't really learn and you won't really branch out to live a meaningful life that way if you do that your whole entire life. So most people who take this advice, including me by the way, of season of no, sorry, this is season of yes, will fail because they don't need that advice. Most people who take this advice of season of no already have like anxiety, already are introverted, and they are like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to any parties, when they were just looking an excuse not to go. And I'm speaking from experience again, because I was this type of guy. I was like, I want to stay home, I want to not do shit, and I want to not expand and not lean out of my comfort zone. And people telling me, oh no, you just need to sit at home and you just need to work, bro. I was like, oh, fuck yes, okay, I have the excuse now. What you need to do is to learn and to experience different things, because the way you find your purpose, the way you find your reason, the way you find your meaning of life is by experiencing different things and seeing if it's for you or not for you. And usually nowadays, I give myself this one rule: if I'm not entirely disgusted by it, if I don't have entire disdain for it, and on a scale of 1 to 10 of my interest, it's above a 2, I will try it. I will try it at least once, and if I don't like it, I can leave it there. But I will try it. If there's some things that just I just don't like. Like, I never really liked swimming and shit. I'll probably even try that sometime. I know how to swim, by the way, but I'm just not a big swimmer. And every time I go for like running or cycling, I'm fine with that. But fucking swimming is like disgusting, and the sea is, and I don't like that shit. But whatever, I'm still willing to try that thing, even though that's like probably a 2 or a 3 for me. And if it's under that, I'm definitely not even going to try. But the thing is, for 99% of things, just say yes, man. Like, what's pulling you back? The author of this book, he was like a wedding DJ out of nothing, just randomly, because he said yes. And he met one of his best friends or his wife or some shit like that. I don't really remember. I'm not going to tell you any fucking fake news. But that's kind of what happened. And then he did this thing, and then he did that thing. Now he's like such a multifaceted individual. He's making books on storytelling. Well, he's an elementary school teacher and a father of many. And he also has businesses. And he's just a multifaceted, happy individual because he has a bunch of skills. And most of us who go for this season of no approach, we're just like, oh yeah, guys, I gotta stay at home. Yeah, Alex Hormuzzi said that I should say no. When the thing is, we should be saying yes more. So in essence, if you live like 1/4 of your life in a season of no mode and like 3/4 of it in a season of yes mode, you're going to be much more happy than if you just do like 100% for either of these. Because the thing is, if you want to like be a fucking generalist and actually understand the world and be like, I think personally it's a much better life to be a 7 out of 10 in everything than to be a 10 out of 10 in one thing and just a 2 or 3 out of 10 in everything else, because that's kind of what it takes. To be the best runner, to be the best athlete, to be the best football player, it takes so much more effort than it does to be just 9 out of 10 or 8 or 7 out of 10. So if we want health, wealth, relationships, happiness, everything, we need to take some sacrifices. We can't be absolutely like top in every single thing. And I think that's fine. I think that's beautiful. And the way to do that is to say season of yes, is to experience different things and find out what's for you, what's not for you. Because the thing is, a lot of people make their passion, a lot of people make their reason out of things that they didn't even see as possibilities in the first place. You know, no one really wakes up and thinks that their passion is social media marketing. It certainly wasn't for me. And even after I went into it, it wasn't for me. But for example, Frank Kern, who's like a very well-known marketer, like he's kind of old. I'm not saying he's fucking old because that sounds a bit offensive, but he's like in his 50s, I think, or maybe in his 40s at least. But he's like, yeah, he's kind of old, and he's been around the block quite a few times. Now, when he was born, probably fucking computers didn't exist, or at least the online marketing definitely wasn't a thing. So he didn't have like a natural passion, and when he was born, he just had the word from God that he wants to be an online marketer. He kind of grew into it. He found his crowd. He found that he was good at the thing, and he just went on, and it was a very nice life for him, and that's just how it ended up for him. So that's why I'm like, I need to still try different things. Now, again, it wasn't the thing for me. I tried it. It wasn't the thing for me. It's not like a fucking objective thing that online marketing is the thing. It's just for that person, that kind of thing worked because he tried it and he made it into a passion. You aren't necessarily born with passions, although usually if you do something in your childhood, it is usually a good indicator of what you'll enjoy. Just try different things. Just give it a go. You have nothing to lose. The next thing we need to understand is that it is absolutely necessary to have some alone time, where you think. And you think about your own fucking thoughts. I have a video on this. It's a long video. It's titled How to Outsmart the Game of Productivity. I will throw up a card on screen right now. It's important that you watch that because I talk about this concept of how to be your own friend. I talk about how to literally take a fucking step back and zoom out of productivity and zoom out of the tactics, the gadgets, the shit that people tell you to buy, and actually just how to be your own friend and how to be in a state where you don't need discipline, you don't need the D, pause, and you actually feel motivated to do the shit. You actually feel motivated to do what is good for you. And yeah, that's kind of the key to everything. So I talk about this concept where if you think about shit that actually is you won't really have a problem with understanding what your reason is and feeling demotivated and having to rely on discipline. Because if you know yourself, you know, there's a very, very good reason that those words ring in the history of time. They were like ancient people were writing it down fucking thousands of years ago. It's because knowing yourself is the best knowledge that you can acquire. I draw this image quite often, but this is your subconscious mind, and this little dot right here is the conscious mind. And the thing is, when you're just living your life and this is you and you're kind of not happy but not sad, and then Ronaldo scores a goal and then you get that information from Twitter, and then someone on the subway is taking a piss because you live in a shithole and oh shit, that's happening, and then someone says something mean to you and now that's happening, and then someone says this to you, and you're getting all of this external like knowledge from these external places, and now your brain's all over the place and you feel brain fog and you feel lethargic and you feel overwhelmed and you don't know where you're going in life and you feel lost. Does that sound fucking does that sound like you? Because it probably does. It sounds a lot like me a few years ago. And then, if you give yourself a bit of alone time, doesn't even have to be that much, you start thinking about the shit that's in here, and you start healing. And you're like, oh damn, I've been acting this whole way because of this thing. You know, the Carl Jung quote that everyone likes to go back to. Until the subconscious is made conscious, it will control your life, and you will call it fate. if you have something back in here, if you have like a big memory that really dictated your behavior ever since you were a kid, it's cliche, but that's how it fucking works. You won't really know that shit, this one random memory here, is controlling how you act right now, but you don't even fucking know it because you're not letting it resurface. This is what ends up happening. Once you block all of this shit out, you have these external things trying to get your attention. Once you block all of the shit out, you will start healing and you will start thinking about things that are in your mind. And these thoughts from the subconscious mind will emerge into the conscious mind and you'll get random thoughts. Have you ever sat down to meditate or just attempted to meditate? Or just have you ever thought, I'm going to leave my phone at home when I go to the gym. I'm going to leave my phone on my desk when I go to the toilet. I'm going to think about my own fucking thoughts for 5-10 minutes. You can't really turn your brain off. You still get thoughts, and that is literally this. Those are thoughts submerging from the subconscious mind into your conscious mind, and that is who you are essentially. And then you can maybe understand how you work. If you start getting those thoughts, you could be like, where did that thought come from? This is what mindfulness is about. It's detaching yourself from your thought. You are not your mind. You are the awareness that looks on your mind. There's a way to think of this as in, you randomly get these thoughts that are generated that come up. You're getting these thoughts of this, X and Y and Z, and these are randomly coming up, and you're just a person looking down on these thoughts. You're just a person looking at them. You're not the thoughts. You're not like, if I was to draw a face here and the thoughts are emerging within it, you're just a person looking at them and you're like, I thought this about this person right now. How is that? Why did I think that? And this is a very, very good exercise to know yourself. And you don't have to meditate and you don't have to disregard the thoughts. You can delve into them if you want to. I'm not necessarily you need to meditate. I'm just saying you need to spend some alone time with yourself. And when you're on the fucking tram to work, maybe not look at your phone, maybe try to detach, maybe have conversations with yourself even. One of my friends put me onto this, but it's really like game. He randomly chats out every single time he goes back home after a night out. He just talks to himself and people think he's fucking crazy, but it's a very, very healthy exercise because not only do your communication skills increase when you do that, your articulation and just overall your fucking thinking starts to become apparent because you're like, why did I think that? Oh shit, okay, I guess I'm going to do this. And you're talking aloud to yourself, and it's very healing to do that. That's an exercise very akin to this, by the way. So just do this more, think more, have more alone time, by the way. Solitude is not necessarily loneliness. When you schedule time to be alone, it's not involuntarily being alone. It's very different when you're just left on your own by other people, and when you're like, no thank you, I'm just going to stay alone for a bit. Again, this isn't 100% of the time. Don't say no, say yes more. So don't contradict yourself with the previous point, but actually do leave yourself some time to think and ponder on your own thoughts, because this will lead you to the realization of what's important to you, and this will lead you one step closer to finding your reason. So the first thing you want to do once you've figured out your reason is to integrate it mindfully. You can make it your hobby, but you can also just make it your business. However, as I said previously in the intro, that's kind of hard to do because now you don't get to be your own boss. Now you don't get to create your own rules. I like playing football, but I know that I won't like doing it if I have to play every 3 days. I know my body won't be able to take it. I know that I won't be able to take it because I don't like it like that. And that's fine. Just think ahead. Just actually be like, okay, hold on. If I become a musician, will I be fine with wanting to gratify the fans? What happens if 2 years from now I have like a switch in my genre and people were used to me making reggae and now I make hip hop and people don't like that? Will I be able to take it? Will I be able to see the numbers go down? Will I be able to switch? Will I just keep doing the fucking slave work that people want me to do? Is that fine? Am I going to be like a slave to the industry? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If you're fine with it, then do it. I'm just saying these kind of things do emerge once you make your hobby, your passion, your reason into your business, because that isn't the same. Now you rely on it. Now it has to go well. So maybe the best way is to integrate it mindfully, is to actually be like, okay, some part of this I'm willing to take, but I'm going to do these very specific things on my own terms. For example, if I go into music, I'm going to do whatever I want. Maybe sometimes I'm going to incorporate more mainstream elements into it so I get more streams, or maybe I'm going to make an album and not release it just because that was something I wanted to make, and I know it's too abstract, and I know if I publish it people won't look at me the same, and you kind of have to care about how people look at you if you're like a public figure. So just be mindful about how you do it and be very introspective of how can I actually integrate my passion, my reason into my business, because this way I must integrate it, because then I will be motivated and then I won't be lazy anymore. But I know that if I entirely integrate it I might just go a bit overboard, and that's not good for anyone. The next thing you need to do is to craft a mission statement. This might be to inspire a generation. This might be to help people launch their businesses. This might be to make people more mindful. This might be to whatever. For me, it's pretty much to reverse the negative effect of technology on people's minds, because people have minds that have not adapted to technology. And I want to not necessarily to reverse it, but take back control at the least, to understand that you don't have to be on your phone for 14 hours a day, to understand that you can actually live a natural life, wire your brain to have dopamine from good sources, wire your brain to want to do the things, wire your brain to not have to use discipline all the time. And this is why I do what I do. You might just look at it as stupid YouTube videos, and people in my life surely do that. I'm fine with that. I don't really give a fuck. I don't, because I know this is actually changing lives, and I know it will if it isn't now. So this is what happens if you look at your thing as something that's bigger than yourselves, that you actually have a mission about it. You write, I'm not going to write the fucking whole thing out. You understand, you write, this is for this and that and da-da-da-da-da, and this is a bigger thing than I am. This is not just a fucking YouTube video. This is not just a like stupid channel. This will have impact in the world, and that will get you up. You won't fucking sleep in if you have this in your mind. You're like, I'm saving lives here. If you can make your work about that in some form, you will be much better. If you make an education company and you're thinking, this will make the next generation of children so much smarter, and we will have like a better living standard as humans because of this, you won't sleep in. You won't be lazy anymore, motherfucker, because your work actually matters now. And crafting a mission statement, usually it's better if you do it with like actually trackable results, like a SMART goal, like I will inspire 1 million people, and maybe that's your subscriber count or whatever. Usually it's a bit better, but just have a general mission statement at the least, and actually understand what is your goal. Because anytime you feel demotivated or you feel down or in a negative frequency, you can be like, I am doing this, and you can look at it and you can reflect and you can get yourself into that emotional state, and then you will feel fired up, and then you will feel motivated, and it will be hard for you to be lazy at that point. That's pretty much the video. Finally, I want to talk to you about this. I just launched a course. It's about beating procrastination, and it has 50% off right now. This is only for a limited time. It's a launch sale. I'm not fucking with you. You can check. I just launched it. This whole video was pretty much like half of the values section. So I have a section in there. One of the reasons you procrastinate usually is because you're not in alignment with your values, and this was pretty much about that, why you don't have your reason, and why you feel like your jet doesn't have the correct fuel, or at least not the correct amount. There's 4 other reasons why people procrastinate: fear, clarity, or at least lack of clarity, identity, and mental health. And I talk about all of these, and it's quite short. It's only 2 hours. You can watch the whole entire thing in 2 hours, and you will literally be armed with every fucking thing that you need to beat procrastination. And right now, as a bonus, I'm giving you one extra thing, which is a mentorship kind of call with me. So you can, if you want to talk to me one-on-one and actually have me help you with your specific problems, which I can't do on YouTube. I don't know your fucking case. That's why I don't like giving like specific advice. But if you do want like specific advice, and you do want to get to the goal faster of actually understanding your reason and actually beating procrastination, then click that link and buy the course. 50% off right now. If you don't, that's also fine. Goodbye.